Konnichiwa, minasan, Sensei desu. And Cleo's here, and we're back for another Sensei review, and I'm gonna be happy today. I'm gonna be raving today about a game that I really like. I like so much I played it on my channel, Resident Evil Code Veronica. It's up there for me with Resident Evil games. So anyway, I have played this one on my channel here, so if you want to watch it, pause this video and go watch it if you've never seen Code Veronica before, because I'm going to talk about spoilers today, and it's a good game, and I don't want to spoil it for you, because it's legit. Like, it's a good game. And anyway, I actually have, you're going to probably laugh at me, but back in the day, they actually did an English novelization of the Resident Evil games, and I got the book for Resident Evil 2 and for Resident Evil Code Veronica, and I read both of them. And yeah, so spoiler alert, and I'm going to talk about, you know, Code Veronica, probably my second favorite Resident Evil game of all time. And like I said, I'm a relatively prolific Resident Evil player. I've played pretty much everything. Definitely all the main games and a couple of the side games. So anyway, I'm going to start with a story summary and just kind of how I felt about the story. Cleo's here, but she's not sitting with me because she doesn't care right now. Although she ran her fat little butt in here, so I don't know. I don't know what's up with that. Okay, so story time. Story time with Sensei. Code Veronica. Okay, so this was, in truth, the sequel after Resident Evil 2, like, chronologically. So this was in development at the same time as what became known as Resident Evil 3. Resident Evil 3 was kind of intended when it first started development to be a spin-off game of Resident Evil 2. That's why it's still taking place within Raccoon City. And they're like, Jill. So anyway, because she was still living in the city or whatever, and they're like, hey, Jill, let's check in with Jill. I love Jillian Valentine. Jilly Bean Valentine. She's great. But anyway, so this is really the true successor in the next game in the series, and I love it. I really do. So let's talk about the story. So at the end of Resident Evil 2, we had a couple things. So we had Claire and Leon, our two playable characters. Leon is going to stay with Sherry Birkin, the little girl who you were helping in that game. And Claire is going to leave. And Claire is doing what she was doing in Resident Evil 2. She's continuing that, where she's looking for her brother, Chris Redfield. We know that their parents are dead, and they rely on each other a lot. So she's very determined to find her only remaining family, you know, and oh, hi, here she is. And anyway, to find her brother. So we pick up with Claire. Claire and Chris Redfield are going to be our two playable characters in this game, and we are going to pick up with Claire solo attacking a hi, oh, what? A Umbrella Corporation base in France, just on a Tuesday, by herself, which is pretty amazing. This is why Claire's cool. Like, everybody likes Claire. Nobody's like, Claire is garbage. Like, everybody likes Claire because she's the best. Anyway, so Claire is going to get caught at said base. It's kind of an exciting sequence that they do at the beginning, and Claire recognizes one of these guys that is one of the guards. And anyway, we'll get back to him in a bit. I think that's Rodrigo. I don't know. Okay, so anywho, we're in an unknown location in a prison cell, and this is where we wake up, and this is where the game starts. So, like I said, I'll try to summarize. But I love this game and I love the story. So anyway, you're in a spooky prison on a spooky island, and for a while you're just another prisoner and you're trying to escape. So there's a guy, and I think his name is Rodrigo, and he's going to help you, but he's a little sick, and he needs hemostatic medicine. And I know that has to do with blood, but that's about it. Like, I still don't actually know what's wrong with him. But anyway, there's a little trading sequence that you can do with him in a little bit and get a lighter. You have a lockpick? Or something like that. Maybe I got that backwards. Anyway, so anyway, your first objective is to get out of the prison, and the prison is creepy. There are zombies there. There are zombie dogs there, and you don't have a lot of stuff, and it's difficult. I think that's one of the themes about Code Veronica is it's a difficult game. It's not a walk in the park. So anyway, there's a couple things you got to do, very Resident Evil-esque, you know. You got to deal with some items and make some keys and get out. So while we're in the prison, we meet one of the other characters. His name is Steve. Now, you have to understand, they haven't remade this game, and the only thing that I had available to me was the English. And like the two other, really three other Resident Evil games that have come before this one, the voice acting it's amazing. It's amazing. It's kind of cheesy and it's kind of bad, but it's also amazing. Like, it's really amazing. So, Steve's voice actor, like, somebody... Like, there are two voice actors in this game that need recognition, like special recognition for their efforts, and the guy who plays Steve is one of them. So he has a really nasally voice, and he's actually, I think Claire is like 19 at this point, and I think Steve is like 17. But he is also a prisoner. You meet him, he kind of runs away, whatever. We'll see Steve in and out. And he's obviously hitting on Claire. So, like, there you go. All right, next. We get out of the prison, and we're kind of, like, in the roads between the main areas of this part of the game. The prison, there's a military complex, and then there's kind of the houses, like the mansions. They didn't use the word mansion. They used the word palace or something. But there's two of them in kind of an underground area. So anyway, I think we go up to the palace first, because we can't really get around in the military facility too much. Everything's locked. And then we meet the best character in the game, which is Alfred Ashford. And after this video, I want you to go Google Alfred Ashford if you have never heard of him before. He is positively my favorite villain in all of Resident Evil. He's amazing, and his voice actor is the other voice actor that needs some special recognition. Amazing. Okay, so anyway, we're introduced to Alfred. He is part of the Ashford family, and the Ashford family like helped found Umbrella like a couple generations ago, and they're rich and European or whatever. Sorry, she's just like hacking. She's like, so, you okay? Good? Can I continue? Yeah? Is that okay with you? All right. Anyway, so Alfred, gosh, I'll talk about him back with characters, but he's a character. He is a character, and I love him. He's great. He's hilarious. But he is the leader of the base that apparently we're on an island, and he thinks that Claire is the one that attacked the base and released the T-virus, which is the zombie virus, and he's very upset at Claire. So anyway, we have a little shooty shoot, and he runs away. So anyway, we're kind of going in between the three areas, and we're gonna spend a little while with Claire and Alfred, and Steve. We'll see them sort of intermittently. And basically we're trying to get to the airport that's sort of under, is it in the military complex? No, it's under the houses, and to try to get out. So now in the meantime, we figure out that Alfred is a twin, and he has a twin sister named Alexia. And we don't know where Alexia is, but Alfred and Alexia are very close, like in a weird way. And anyway, everything is like twin themed with them, and creepy dolls and ugh. Anyway, so the first house that we get into, like the palace, is I don't know, kind of the main house, and then we have kind of Alexia's house, which is a creepy creepy dollhouse that's up on a hill, and bad things happen there. Like, I don't like going there. Like, it's never a good place to go. So anyway, that's kind of the final area we're introduced to. So there are times where you can go back to the prison. We spend a little while playing around with Alfred in the military facility, and we find out as we're leaving this sort of, I don't know, I want to say it's probably like 60% of the game that I'm just describing right now. And when we're leaving there, we find out that we think we've been hearing Alexia, but it's actually just been Alfred, like, cross-dressing as his sister. And he's, like, pretending that Alexia is alive. So I'm like, okay, so Alexia is dead. Anyway, and Alfred's just crazy. So awesome. And Alfred is really trying very hard to get the glory back to his family, because his dad basically, like, screwed up the family legacy. So he's really on a mission to reinstate the Ashford family. Okay, so we find out about that kind of stuff, and then we get Steve. We got our boy Steve, and we get on a plane, and we're gonna leave the island. Now, Alfred is a little upset with us, and so what he's gonna do is he's going to basically, the plane that we have is like on autopilot, and then we're going to Antarctica, of all places. It's autopilot, we can't do anything. And at this point, there's a very difficult boss that literally stows away on your plane, and I'll talk about that again later. And we have, like, Steve legit, like, okay, I love Claire. Steve was on the island because his dad, like, gave information to Umbrella or something. And anyway, he was, like, selling information about Umbrella to other people, and they found out, and they imprisoned his whole family, which included him and his mom and his dad. And anyway, poor Steve, he had to, he saw zombie dad and had to put him down. So he was having a bad day, but he decided that he likes Claire, and he wants to protect Claire, and, like, he's a little cinnamon roll, Steve. He doesn't belong in this game. But anyway, so Steve, we have, like, this romantic moment or two, like, on the way to Antarctica, where he really decides he likes Claire. And anyway, all right, so we're in the Antarctica base, which is an extension of the Ashford people, and they're researching something, and it's cold, and there's moths, and they're lame, and you have to get the power back on and do a bunch of stuff. And anyway, so after we mill around Antarctica for a while, by the way, of course, Alfred followed us, and did he follow us? I think he was there. Hey, what are you doing? Maybe he wasn't there. Anyway, there's a part where we keep going back and forth later in the game, and I get a little confused. But anyway, there was a cinema scene with him. So as we're leaving, there's this, like, weird Nosferatu enemy, and we find out that it's actually Alfred and Alexia's dad. I don't remember his name. I'm sorry. There was a puzzle about it. I don't remember his name. Anyway, so we fight him. I got Steve. We got, like, a snowmobile, and we're gonna go find, like, a random other base that's a couple miles away, and where we can get to safety. So obviously the virus has been leaked in Antarctica too, and we fight some giant spiders, and it's miserable. And anyway, yeah, so at the end of Antarctica, we did fight Alfred, so he was there. Yeah, Alfred was there, and he got shot with his own rifle or something like that. Anyway, he's mortally injured, and he goes downstairs somewhere that we haven't had access to yet, and he wakes up Alexia. Okay, so Alexia is alive. Alexia is real. And this is the point where we switch to Chris, and we're going to repeat basically the areas that we were going through with Claire, but kind of not, because there are different things have changed in the time that Claire had blown through there, and we have access to new areas. So basically, we're going to find Rodrigo. I think his name is Rodrigo. I'm going to feel really bad if I am calling him the wrong name this entire time. Anyway, so Chris is found out that Claire is here and he wants to save her. He's too late. She's gone. But anyway, there was a self-destruct sequence because it's a Resident Evil game. So a lot of stuff has been destroyed and we have to make our way. Now, of all people who are here on the island, we did see Wesker back during Claire's part for a moment. And so we know that he has some sort of base or operation. He is very likely the one who attacked the base and released the virus there. So he's got hunters that are going to come after Chris. They're a pain in the butt and will be with us for the rest of the game. Yay! So anyway, we basically fight our way through there. And Chris is like, Wesker, and Wesker's like, Chris. And I mean, that's that section. So Chris is also going to get on a plane and he's going to fly to Antarctica and basically try to find Claire. So we get into a big snowmobile accident because of Alexia or something. And anyway, this is the switcheroo part of the game that I get a little confused on. So more or less, we have to save Claire. We see her, like, Alexia got her, and she's like in a icky web of goo. And, like, there's some poison stuff, and you have to, like, do it quickly, and I don't remember. Anyway, so, more or less, one of the coolest cinema scenes, we're kind of going around the Antarctica base, this super giant spider, big as a room. And I very quickly just leave. I'm like, no, thank you. Spiders are not my favorite enemy in Resident Evil games. And anyway, Alexia, one of the coolest things ever. So you are trying to get these stones for a painting, very Resident Evil. And when you have the third one, you walk into this sort of replica of the main room of the Spencer mansion. And anyway, Alexia is walking down the stairs. She's in this like really pretty dress and stuff, and she's just like walking down and she's like ha 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 ha, and then like she just catches fire and she transforms into like one of her boss forms. And this is so cool. She throws blood, okay, and then the blood catches fire. Like, I don't understand. Anyway, so Alexia is like a genius, okay, and she's obsessed with bugs, and particularly ants, and she wants to be the queen ant. That's her big thing, and the ants, it's like symbolism. Anyway, she thinks she's better than everybody else, and I mean, she probably is, but, you know, not ethically speaking. So, anywho, Wesker and Chris are kind of having a fight, and then Alexia walks in, and that's a hard boss fight. And anyway, after that, like I said, we sort of switch back and forth between Chris and Claire, and basically just going to find Alexia and do final boss. So in all this, unfortunately, Steve has been captured, like Claire was, and they gave him whatever they gave Alexia and Alfred's dad, and so he turns into sort of this Nosferatu kind of monster with a big axe. And there's this really super sad scene where Steve is coming after Claire down this hallway, and she escapes, and he's like, Claire! And anyway, there's like a moment while he's still human, and then the poor thing dies. And anyway, it's very sad. So Wesker, we don't really confront it, at least in game. So we defeat Alexia, both of the Redfield siblings, and then you know, there's a cinema scene with Wesker, and it doesn't really get anywhere. And again, Chris is like, Wesker, and Wesker's like, Chris, and you know, that's it. So that's the end of the game. So poor Steve is down, but again, Wesker took Steve's body, so anybody can come back to life in Resident Evil games. This is a fundamental truth that I have learned. Anyway, and the the Redfield siblings are together and they escape, and that's the end of the game. So, story. I've gone on way too long about the story, but I really like the story. I think it's fun and exciting and engaging and stuff. So anyway, I'm going to give the story an A because it's a long game. It really is. But I like that, and I think that it was engaging enough, and I think the characters were good enough, and we finally got the Redfields together. They've been looking for each other for a couple of games now, so it's kind of nice that they're together. So story A. Very good. Good story. It was exciting. I liked it. I had fun with it, and I still go back and play it because I like the story. Characters, so I've talked about a couple of characters, but I guess I'll give them their true things now that you kind of have a feel for the story. So, okay. I love Claire. Claire's no problem. Claire just got cooler in this game, in my mind. So she is constantly being like, Alfred's always giving her crap, and she's like sort of quipping back at him because she ain't having it. And I remember the voice actress's name. Her name is Alison Court. She was the original voice actress in English for Claire in Resident Evil 2, and she reprised her role for Code Veronica. Excellent. As far as I'm concerned, she is the voice of Claire. Like, as much as SpongeBob is the voice of, SpongeBob, like, I can't not hear Alison Court when it comes to Claire. And, like, she was kind of funny with Steve, because Steve was really trying. Like, and she was nice. She was nice about it. She's like, not really, but okay. And, yeah, she was doing her thing. So Claire, solid, no issues there. Chris was fine. He's doing his like Chris Wesker. Okay, that's the same, so that's fine. That's there. And then we're left with some of the new characters. So Steve, awesome. I love poor dead Steve. Because darn it, he tried. And the funny thing is, I found out they were trying to model him after Leonardo DiCaprio, who was really popular at the time, and that's hilarious. So anyway, Steve is hilarious. Sorry. Just go watch some voice clips. Like, it's gold. It's just comedy gold. Like, it's amazing. Okay. The twins. I love the crazy twins. Like, I love them so much because they're so weird and creepy. So yeah, Alexia, I think, is kind of your cookie cutter Resident Evil villain. I think what goes well for her is that she's got a really good design, and you don't have to listen to her for that long, really. And I can't say this for sure, but I don't know if it's like the same person that voiced both the twins, but very similar, in the voice acting, which was appreciated. And I love Alfred Ashford. He's my favorite. He is my absolute favorite villain because he's so funny. And so please, like, I want to go look up voice clips of him right now, especially the clips of him laughing. Amazing. Nothing S, just S. No negatives. I liked Rodrigo. I liked a couple of the other people that you ran across in the game. I thought they fit. I thought they worked. I thought Wesker being there was cool. I was like, neat. It's Wesker. He's a jerk. Let's go get him. Anyway, all right. So art. I have to say, this game was so atmospheric, and I really loved all of the environments. So the prison was dirty and dark and creepy, and man, there's a really creepy section of the prison part where there was basically like a guy doing experiments on people, and anyway, it was creepy. It worked. I really like the palace and the residence is I think what they call Alexia and Alfred's house, and man, it's pink. It's creepy. There's a giant like mutated doll thing made out of stone like hanging out there. I think the enemies were creepy and good. They had a Bandersnatch is what they actually call them. It's kind of like one big long arm, and they suck. And then like the hunters were kind of bringing it back, but there's like they've got the art, they've got the puzzles, they've got kind of all the Resident Evil staples, and I really enjoyed all that. I even like the Antarctica base because it's desolate, it's creepy, and cold looking. And, you know, they had some replicas built in of like the original mansion. It wasn't overdone, but it was a callback, you know. And they have this like weird medieval tortured section towards the end, and there's a part that I always die at. But anyway, I really liked the art of Code Veronica, and I think that it fit and it worked, and I really liked the, you know, the Ashford family and all of their nonsense, because like they're clearly insane. Like they're clearly very mental, and it shows in their art and stuff. So I'm gonna say A for art. Let's say A overall. Really liked the art. Music. I liked the music. I feel like the music was really good in the first and second games of Resident Evil, and I felt like Code Veronica continued with that. There's even a romantic theme for Steve. So, but I still, like, I'm remembering when I'm thinking about the music, I'm remembering the tracks. Like, I know the music for different areas, and you know, I think the boss music was exciting, and I had no problem with the music. I think the music was great. So I'm going to do A for that. It's not like outstanding, but I think it's really, really good, and it's really solid. Okay, gameplay. This one can get a little dicey because the gameplay in Code Veronica is a little different, where they decided, okay, we're not going to give you the choice of two characters. You're going to play as two characters, but we're going to do one, right? Then we're going to do two, then we're going to do one, then we're going to do two, 1, 2, 1, 2, end of the game. Okay, that's kind of how it goes. And I didn't hate it, honestly. When I first started playing as Chris and I switched over and I was like, oh, what? What are we doing? But the environments were different enough. Like when you got there, you had access to different places, you know, places you couldn't get to before. And gosh, it's hard. This is a hard game. It's a long game, and you need to know what you're doing. Like, you can't just go around and like do whatever. So there are choices that you make at like 30% of the game that will affect 80%, you know. So anyway, I had to do on my channel when I did it, I had to go back and like redo up until that point because I was just not ready. I was not ready. I had made poor choices. So it's one of those games where you really do have to like watch the little details as you're doing your playthrough, and I like that. I think it makes it more challenging because you have to plan and you have to do it a couple times, you know, to really get it down and to get all of the things. For a Resident Evil game, this does not have a lot of, what I want to say, like replay value. So usually after you beat it, like a Resident Evil game, you have to beat it a bunch of times. You have to like do all these little side missions. You have to kill a certain number of enemies. You have to beat the game in a certain amount of time, yada yada. They don't really have that in this. So they were doing like a multiplayer function, and that's what they decided to do instead of really doing replay. And so I think that there is a rocket launcher that you can get, but that's it. Like, there's really not a lot else that you can get for beating the game multiple times or beating it on hard mode or whatever. Replay stuff, unlockables. There's really not a lot for Code Veronica, which is okay, I guess, because it keeps the game difficult. There's no way to like, I have an unlimited handgun, haha, you know, like, no. So the game remains difficult, but I like the difficulty of the game, and it definitely heightens the stakes, you know, and you have to work to get through this game. The bosses are difficult. So I mentioned the mid-game boss, and it's a popular opinion among the Resident Evil community that this is the hardest boss. Maybe in all of the games, but certainly, like, that's not a final boss. This is the hardest one. And I don't disagree with that. So you have to fight, like, I don't know, whatever. It's a tyrant. I don't know what it is. It's like Tyrant X or Tyrant Y. I don't know, whatever. It's a tyrant. Sneaks onto the plane. He's got, like, a mace for a hand. And he is not easy. There's not even really good ammo for this particular boss. You're in a little space, and you have like a crate that you can shoot out and hit the tyrant. And you do have to hit him, and you can miss him. And the idea is hit him a couple of times when his health is low enough, he'll be ejected from the plane because the hangar of the plane is open. And yes, he can knock you out of it. And yes, I have gotten knocked out of my own plane several times. But if you don't have the health and the ammo, you're not going to beat this boss. Like, that's it. Like, if you have not really conserved, like, it's not going to happen. And that's difficult. It is difficult. If you don't do certain things, you don't get certain guns and ammo and health. And it's hard. You switch between the two characters. So if you like left something with Chris and you saved, like, you screwed, son. Like, that's it. So it's hard. It's a hard game, but I like it. I think that one of the problems I have with a little bit more modern games, because I was kind of in the middle. I wasn't in the arcade era where everything was like punishingly difficult, but these games were hard. Like, some of them were, you know, purposely difficult, and there's no difficulty setting on this game. Like, it's just hard by nature. So, but I like that. I think it works, and it just makes me want to be better. It makes me want to get good and beat the game. So anyway, I'm gonna go an S for gameplay as well, because this was the last true Resident Evil for a long time, where the gameplay was your tank controls, your item management. You have very low inventory of ammunition, health, that kind of thing. And you have to use tools to navigate your way through the environment. There are puzzles, you know. And yeah, I mean, there were zombies and monsters, and, you know, it had a difficulty curve. And I don't know, like, I think that when I think of a Resident Evil game, I think of, you know, what they did in Code Veronica, because it works, you know, and it goes in conjunction with the story, you know, and everything else. So here's our scorecard so far. Pretty good Code Veronica. So let me go to my overall thoughts and my final score. Okay, so I love this game. I think the gameplay is fun. I think it's creepy. I think it's got good atmosphere, and it's got some legitimately dark stuff in this game. Like, there are some legitimately, like, make your skin crawl moments. They did some good, like, scary, like, horror pieces, you know, zombies popping out in the graveyard and stuff like that. And I think that it makes it compelling with the characters that we have, you know, like, we're trying to save poor Steve and get to Chris. You know, we have a simple objective, and you know, then we have the crazy twins thrown in for good measure, and they just make the gameplay experience so much richer. But, you know, like, they're good villains, and you want to take them down. And anyway, infinitely quotable, memeable humor that's within Code Veronica. And I think they were still kind of, like, in their dedication to the cheese a little bit. And there's a balance of, like, you know, horror elements that are really quite dark stuff. And then you have, like, just Steve being silly and Alfred being silly, and you're like, oh, okay, this is fine. So anyway, I really like this game. It's my second favorite Resident Evil game. I don't think I can give it an S. I'm inclined to, but I really want to save S for, like, top tier. So I'm gonna go A+. I'm gonna go A+. I really would have liked more gameplay on the replay, like replay value. I would have liked more of that. And I don't know, some of the stuff with just the way they put the game together makes it feel a bit rigid. It is long. It's a long game. Gotta have some endurance to get through Code Veronica. But yeah, I love the story. I love the characters. The gameplay's fun and challenging, and it is a solid entry in the Resident Evil series. And there's reason why a lot of people really like this game, and I really like this game. Like, if it's kind of like a day that's, I don't know, sort of like overcast or something like that, like I want to get some tea and I want to go play Code Veronica, like yeah, it's just like a fun little story to dive into and go through. And like I said, it's a challenge, which makes it fun. So anyway, this has been Sensei and Cleo. Cleo's still here. You can see her. She is here. She is rolling. She is rolling. Little fat tummy. Little fat tummy. Here's a little paw. Here's a little paw. So anyway, thank you for watching my Sensei review on Code Veronica. And hey, you know, let's hold our breath, because maybe at some point they will remake this. But if you cannot play Code Veronica, you can go over here on my channel and go watch my playthrough. And I did have to stop halfway through and restart and just get all the items, because it was not gonna. I was like, I'm not prepared for this boss. Like, I'm going to die. Anyway, but yeah, it's fun. It's a good rainy day game. I really like it. So I hope that I've convinced you to play it. It's definitely something that I would recommend, especially if you're a fan of sort of the classic Resident Evil games. If you've never played the traditional Resident Evil games, it's a good one. Meow. Hey, what are you doing? Crazy child. Anyway, but yes, I would recommend it to a friend. I recommend it to you, my friend. Please go play Code Veronica. It's amazing. Or you can watch my playthrough of it, which is less amazing, because I just play. I'm not necessarily good or perfect at it, but I play. It's fun. All right. Anyway, so we'll catch you next time on Sensei Reviews. Sayonara.